The views or opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the participants and do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Westman Communications Group or its employees.
Hey everybody. I'm so sorry. I was laughing as the intro was playing, and
I was trying not to make her laugh, and then we made eye contact. Oh.
Anyway.
Terrible.
Good. I was gonna say good morning. It's good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Or whatever time you're seeing this.
Hi everybody.
We're back.
This is the most chaotic intro. Hi there, everyone. Welcome to KC
we're
Chronicles. We had a few week break
because we were just having lots of things hitting all at once, so we just never worked out to make an episode. So here we are, back at it again in February. Valentine's Day is in like a week and a half.
That's true.
Not even a week and 1 day.
8 days? No.
Yeah, 8 days.
Something like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and actually, well, more importantly, I think it's March 7th. I think a month and a day until 1 year anniversary of doing.
That's crazy.
Of the first episode of KC Chronicles.
Yo, we almost said we got to do a big like little celebration episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got to be like, yo, we hit 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we I don't know. A flaming bottle of vodka. With like a firecracker just in the studio.
That's safe.
I'm sure that won't set off any fire alarms.
Yeah. And then we'll have to go outside in front of the company again. And they're going to be like, why are we outside? And we're going to be like, well, that was our fault.
Yeah. Except the difference is we won't be wearing Halloween costumes on October.
We'll wear our Halloween costumes on the day of just so that we have to wear them in front of the company.
In March.
In March, yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode. We hope you are doing well today. Today's topic is something that I requested because I wanted to...
Before we get into that, maybe let's do a little recap.
Let's do a recap.
You're ready, but like,
sorry, I was ready to go.
He was ready to go. He's so excited for this episode, and we promise it will be a good one. But we're gonna do a little weekly recap, or I guess a couple weeks. How have you been, Cullen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've been good. I'm kind of stressed. Tension headaches. You ever had those?
Oh, I think I have, probably, yeah.
I've been dealing with the odd one of that, but we're moving.
Yeah.
I just want nice weather because I want to just be outside. I want to get away from because here's the thing. I stare in front of screens all day, and I think a part of those tension headaches is just like eye strain. Yeah. But it's hard to not do or to not have constant eye strain when you stare at a computer for all day, and then you go home and like all you're around, like there's temptation just to be around screens even further. So I want it to be summer so I could just go work and then just go sit outside for a few hours.
The other thing, while it's still cold, that I would suggest you invest in is blue light glasses. They're meant to help your eyes when you're sitting in front of a screen for that long.
When I had my eye exam, I heard my doctor kind of diss them a little bit, so.
I don't know.
I use blue light filters on my screens, but still, I think just
don't want to wreck your eyes too far.
It's just, staring at screens just doesn't help. But anyway, how have you been?
I've been good. I started physio for my back since my accident, so that's been a journey I've been starting, and it's scary, but it's nice to finally be getting help for it. Yeah. And my car's getting fixed, so. Ta-da! It's no longer my car, it's my dad's, but like. Yeah. And I won't be able to drive it again.
They took it away.
Well, it's not technically mine, it was my dad's, but I drove it long enough that I was like, oh, it's mine. But I'm not allowed to drive it afterwards, after it's fixed. Oh. So now in March we gotta get me a car.
Sorry, you're not allowed because your dad said so, or the province said so?
The province said so. Like the insurance people said so. Because
what's the point of that?
It would cause more problems if I got in an accident again, which I don't plan on it, but like.
Good to know.
Life. And actually, if you've been watching Westman TV for quite a while, you will know that AC. Yeah, it's not ACC anymore.
I still say ACC.
Yeah, I say ACC. It's a sibling college.
AC air conditioning.
They do Westman this week, and we post it on here. We feel like we show it on here.
Yeah, we do show it on the channel.
We are starting, as a live production specialist, I get to start building the show. We have built the entire show.
Are you going to be at the switcher, or you'll be directing?
A little bit of everything.
That's what I did.
We kind of are. We have enough people that we're going to go around. Everybody gets a chance. I think we're doing 9 shows total, so we get the chance to do 3 directing shows, 3 switching shows, and 3 just as an extra, which is very exciting. Our first one is coming up on the 20th is the filming date. I believe. Ooh. So stay tuned for that because we're going to have Westman This Week back on our channel.
It's going to be great.
And it's going to be so good. And hopefully it'll be good this year.
I did that. I remember that. That's like 2 years ago now that I was doing that, but I did exactly what you're doing.
I have such high hopes. I feel so confident about our show. Like, we've all had enough time behind the switcher and directing, so we all feel pretty confident about it. I'm very, very excited to produce it and for you guys to see it. You won't see me on camera, but when you watch it, just think, oh my gosh, Kenzie from KC Chronicles is probably switching that show. She's probably directing that show.
That's the
something
first thought they're going to have.
They better.
Not about, it's nothing to do about the news stories. It's Kenzie is in control.
Yeah. And we've added a couple things to it, so we've made it our own, and it's going to be good. We've got a lot of the first years, though, so there's going to be a lot of Around the Horn. I think there's like 13 or 14.
Cool.
So it'll be good.
Fun. Are we ready?
I think we're ready.
Okay.
Are you guys ready?
Okay.
Are you guys ready?
You better
to hear
be ready
this
now. So, like I was saying, this was a topic that I requested.
Our table's so shaky today.
I know, we have a very shaky table.
I'm just going to not put my feet on it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Straight posture today.
Straight posture. So, today's episode is a special one because you kind of had your own sort of episode where you got to really do something that you're passionate about with the true crime.
Yeah, that's true.
In a sense, this is my own version of that. And I'll kind of give a little kind of fun little kind of introduction of what it is. Tornadoes.
It's not something that happens a lot around us here. So,
well,
it happens often, but like it's not like
it happens.
Those places like Oklahoma and down there that it's like all the time. So it's like it's definitely not something that we can speak of as like we've seen them.
I have not seen one in person, but I've been close to some.
No. You know, like I once was going to fireworks with my family one day, just driving down to the lake, and it was storming. And so we turn around and we go home. When I tell you, my house was right here, and there was a road coming here and a road going there. The tornado was here, and the storm chasers were here, and my house was here. Do you know how freaking scary that is? Like, genuinely?
Well, we'll look it up on Tornado Archive after that, and you can tell me.
I don't know I don't remember what day it was, but...
Anyway.
Anywho.
So, I have a boatload of notes. I'm going to be doing a lot of talking, so get comfy. Or unless you're scared about tornadoes, you're not going to be comfy. You're going to be in discomfort.
Grab a little drink.
Grab a little drink. Stay hydrated.
Sit with us and enjoy the show.
Exactly. So, tornadoes.
I will preface by saying I'm the one scared of tornadoes. He loves them. So
okay, well, I'll say
if you want to relate with one of us and you're scared of them, you can relate with me.
Well, here's the thing. I used to be deathly afraid of them.
Yeah.
But I took that fear. I researched because I was scared of them, but I was so drawn to them at the same time.
Yeah.
And I researched it, and I kind of researched the fear out of me. Yes, they're still scary and to be feared, but I just find them so bloody fascinating. It's one of my nerd kind of passions. So let's start with a definition. Go sit and listen, okay?
He said the word bloody, and I was like, bloody.
Bloody?
Bloody.
Well, they have tornadoes in England, too.
You gotta say that. Every time you say bloody from now on, you need to say it in an accent.
All right.
I just think it would be funny. Then we can create, at the end of the year, we can create a bloody compilation just every time that Colin says bloody, and it's just like 20 minutes of you saying the word bloody in an accent. I think it'd be really funny.
Okay, class, let's settle down and listen. Okay.
You're not a teacher.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna pretend to be.
Far from it, actually.
Far from it, exactly.
Anyway.
Okay, here we go. So, a tornado definition. Let's just start with a simple definition. According to Oxford Languages, a tornado is a mobile, destructive vortex of violently rotating winds, having the appearance of a funnel-shaped cloud and advancing beneath a large storm system.
Oh, wow.
Now, that definition almost doesn't really do it justice because, sure, you can picture that, but until you see it, you have to kind of see it to believe it almost because they look almost made up in a sense. Like, they just look kind of... It looks weird because you have a whole cluster of clouds, and then you just have a swirling funnel that has some of the strongest winds ever.
Well, what's scarier is yeah, that's just a funnel with the strongest winds, but what happens when it hits fire? Or other things that go into it.
If it goes over water, it becomes a water spout. And sometimes in forest fires or brush fires, even in the recent California fires, there were some brief fire whirls that were
And that's something
observed.
Like that's scary. Like you think of just one, it's just clouds, but it can be so much more than that. It can be water, it can be fire, it could be literally anything. Like it can become really anything, and it is so dangerous no matter what.
It can be a Sharknado.
Sharknado.
Shout out to that awful movie.
I've never actually seen that movie.
Don't. Okay, so
don't.
Now, I hope this is accurate, please. But a word origin, actually. So picture this as if it was like a spelling bee. So the word tornado, it seems to have originated from around the mid 16th century, and it originates from two Spanish words. Now, believe me, I do not speak Spanish, so if I'm likely going to mispronounce these.
But
it seems to derive from the words tronada, which means thunderstorm, and tornar, which means to turn, turning thunderstorm. And those words kind of mix together to make the word tornado around the mid 16th century.
We should do a Spanish learning episode. Bring out the Duolingo and be like, we're learning Spanish today.
I could probably use that. What are key ingredients that a tornado needs?
This is a cooking show now?
Yeah.
Little bit of rain. Tiny bit of thunder.
Moisture.
Big old wind. And mix it all together, and guess what you got? A tornado.
Not exactly accurate. Moisture. You need warm, humid air. That provides the fuel. Okay? Instability. When warm air rising and cold air sinking, that creates instability. Okay? And then wind shear. Wind shear creates rotation up in the atmosphere, which is how you start the spinning. And then finally, the trigger mechanism. A cold front or a dry line then will trigger thunderstorms. And then with all that wind shear and the humidity and the cold air, tornado.
Wow, science.
I don't know why I'm saying this like it's some sort of like action type thing.
We should have thought of this beforehand, but we should have brought in like a little science experiment to show how a tornado was created.
We'll pause really quickly. So when I was at school in elementary, we had the science fair. We had basically what the science fair and the interest fair. The science fair was for like the actual smart students who actually had like literal scientific experiments. The interest fair was you could literally do whatever, like it was like a presentation of whatever the heck you wanted. I did one on video games one year.
Yeah.
So, and they're merged side by side as if they were synonymous, but in reality they weren't. This was an interest fair, borderline science fair. I did one about how tornadoes form. I just had a small little thing. I painted a little tornado picture. But what I did was we took 2 liter soda bottles, taped them, and you have the liquid, and then you shake the bottle and turn it upside down, and then when the water disperses into the lower bottle, it creates the funnel effect. It's like a demonstration.
Hear me out. Science experiments on KC Chronicles.
That's going to take a lot of prep. We'll talk about that one later.
Well, on the fact of like doing like talking about science experiments, stuff like that, have you ever been to the Science Center in Regina?
Yeah.
They have a little tornado machine. There's multiples. There's one that you can go in and feel what it's like to be in a tornado, or like a simulation of that. But there's the other one where it was like you spin this wheel and it like creates an actual tornado in front of you.
Wow.
I did that. I have a video of it. It's really cool.
Okay. I have a lot of notes. I'm trying to ply through as many notes as I can.
I will stop talking.
We're all good. Okay, so now how do these tornadoes form? Okay, so we talked about the ingredients, but how do these things actually form? Because you have all these ingredients, but how does it all interplay with each other? So, first things first, the warm, moist air meets the cold, dry air. So tornadoes typically form when wet, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico meets cold, dry air from Canada. So we are partially to blame for it.
I'm just going to make a little bit of a joke.
That's why the tariffs are happening?
No, I was going to say it's no longer the Gulf of Mexico.
It's the Gulf of America.
Sorry, I thought that was kind of funny.
Sorry, the Gulf of America.
The Gulf of America.
So basically when
if you understand that, you understand that. If you don't, we're not going to explain it, but...
Okay. Yeah. So when the warm moisture from the Gulf of Mexico meets the cold, dry air from Canada, this creates instability in the atmosphere, with the warm air wanting to rise and the cold air wanting to sink. So there's almost like a conflict of interest here. 2, thunderstorm development. The unstable conditions often lead to the formation of thunderstorms, particularly supercell thunderstorms, which are the most likely ones to produce tornadoes. A supercell is characterized by a rotating updraft called a mesocyclone. So
sorry,
basically,
I got distracted by the accent you had there for a second.
By the country accent. So 3, wind shear it creates rotation. So wind shear, which is differences in wind speeds or directions with altitude, causes the air near the ground to start it causes the air nearer to the ground to rotate horizontally, creating a rolling motion. This horizontal rotation can be tilted vertically with the warm rising air in the updrafts of the thunderstorm. Basically we're starting with these unstable thunderstorms, and then we're starting this kind of spinning motion, kind of on the ground and up in the sky too. Then the formation of a mesocyclone. As the horizontal rotation tilts and stretches, it forms a mesocyclone within the thunderstorm. The mesocyclone is the rotating core of the storm, and its rotation becomes stronger and it stretches upward. And then, the big bad one, tornado development. If conditions are right, such as strong updrafts and continued wind shear, the bottom of the mesocyclone tightens and stretches downward. This forms a funnel cloud, which is a visible rotating column of air that hasn't yet touched the ground. When the funnel cloud reaches the ground, it becomes a tornado. So I've seen a funnel cloud before, but it never became a tornado.
Think about it this way. These clouds are thousands and thousands and thousands of like meters away in the sky. Like they're forever away from us. Like we couldn't touch them, or like the only time you could ever be close to them is if you're in a plane.
Yeah.
And that makes it all the way down to the ground. Just think about how far of a distance that is for that to make. That is pretty impressive. Also, I've seen videos of like people in planes seeing the top of it. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Kind of creepy.
But actually, we're not done. So we have the role of downdrafts. So the cold downdrafts in the thunderstorm from the rain-cooled air can help focus the rotation towards the ground. This process further supports the funnel cloud touching down as a tornado. So that's where that cold air comes in. So, because the hot air wants to rise, but then the cold air helps push it down. It focuses into a funnel.
That's crazy.
And then finally, the tornado strength and dissipation. Tornado strength is determined by the speed of its winds, which can be measured using the enhanced Fujita scale, 0 to 5. The tornadoes eventually dissipate when the storm's updraft weakens, cutting off the energy supply for the tornado. So it runs out of fuel. So I kind of teased it a little bit, but I said enhanced Fujita scale. That is the modern version of something that you might have, clearly I've heard of, the Fujita scale, which is the scale they use to measure tornadoes.
See, I get all these scales confused because for some reason my mind wanted to go to the Richter scale, which I'm pretty sure is the one for earthquakes. Guys,
yeah.
It's
okay. They have unique names.
It has been a long time since we did this in like science, so like.
Well, here I'm kind of helping you. I'm helping you get re-scientific.
Scientific. Word of the day.
It's not a word. Anyway, so I'm going to be talking about the person who actually came up with the Fujita scale.
Let me get. His name was Fujitas. His last name was Fujitas.
It's Fujita. And you are right.
Ah.
Ted Fujita. So
Ted. That's such a boring first name for his last name. Ted.
Well, hold your pants. His real name was Tetsuya Theodore Fujita. He was born in October 1920 in Japan, but he went by Ted.
Oh.
Okay. So
Ted.
A quick little background on Mr. Fujita. He studied mechanical engineering. His early work in Japan, including analyzing the aftermath of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which helped shape his interest in studying damage patterns caused by natural and man-made forces. So he had an interest in studying damage to begin with.
That gives me an idea. What if we did some episodes on like our most interesting things we learned in like about history? So like for example, like a
history episode.
Yeah, well, do multiple because let's be real, we can't fit all of the history we enjoy or we've learned in one episode. So like say we did one specific episode on the events of World War II or something like that. Would you guys be interested in that?
I think it's worth the idea.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
So
if I didn't say it now, I was going to forget it.
Exactly, yeah. So in 1953, Ted Fujita moved to the United States to work at the University of Chicago, where he would spend his career conducting groundbreaking meteorological research. That's a tongue twister.
Meteorological. Jesus, that's a weird word.
Dr. Fujita earned the nickname Mr. Tornado for his pioneering research on severe storms, tornadoes, and microbursts. He conducted extensive tornado damage surveys, identifying patterns in destruction and relating them to wind speeds. And he also innovated aerial surveys and ground-based research to study tornado paths and patterns. So this guy was like a trailblazer. He really helped set the standard, and he came up with what is known as the Fujita scale. And he did all of this before computers came out.
See, my question, and hear me out. How, I get how he could survey the damage. How could he understand the wind speed if they didn't have?
They would have an understanding. Well, because they have pressurized chambers where they can test wind speed, so they knew roughly how much wind speed, and they were able to come up with systems to help measure how much wind speed it takes to knock over a drywall, bricks, etc. But here's how he actually developed the Fujita scale, or just called the F scale. In 1971, Fujita created the Fujita scale, a system to estimate tornado wind speeds based on damage surveys. At the time, there was no standardized method to classify tornado intensity. Fujita aimed to link observed tornado damage to estimated wind speeds. This would help researchers understand tornado strength and guide improvements in building safety. Fujita studied the physical characteristics of tornado damage, including how structures like buildings and trees were impacted. His knowledge of engineering and physics allowed him to estimate the wind speeds required to cause specific types of damage. So he had a bit of an education on just how physics and engineering works. That probably helped him a lot. So this was used for a long time. It was adopted in 1971, but it did have some weaknesses that eventually led it to be changed. For example, some of the weaknesses were subjectivity. Damage ratings depended heavily on surveyors' interpretations. So, it's, kind of open for interpretation. The lack of structural variability. The scale didn't it didn't consider variations in building quality or materials. And of course, no standardization for wind speed calculations. Wind speed estimates were approximate and not rigorously tied to physical measurements. Because again, this came up before good technology, so you had to just estimate it at some point. So that's where they transitioned to the enhanced Fujita scale, which just sounds fun, or the EF scale, which we use today. So over time, I'm struggling to pronounce words today. It's horrible.
You understand. You get the drift. You catch the drift. It's fine.
Meteorologists. People who study tornadoes and meteorologists. Jeez. Having just a day and a half. Meteorologists and engineers recognized the need to address the F scale's limitations. The result was the enhanced Fujita scale, and this was introduced first in the United States in February 2007. And I will say later in 2013, Canada adopted the EF scale, so we were a little late to that party.
We're late to a lot of parties. It's fine.
Exactly. So
fashionably late.
Exactly. So basically, it was kind of concocted at a Texas Tech University, and it was developed in collaboration with structural engineers, researchers, the meteor people,
the meteorologists.
The meteorologists. I don't know why I'm struggling to say that word today. So they all came together and were able to, and with modern technology, they came up with the enhanced Fujita scale. And one of the ways that, some of the ways that they made this scale was the refined wind speeds. The EF scale updated the wind speed estimates for each category to better reflect modern engineering and on just overall understanding. And the EF scale also introduced 28 damage indicators, or what are called DIs, which are basically specific types of structures or objects, like houses, trees, schools. For each DI, it lists degrees of damage, or DODs, which correlate to which correlates to estimated wind speeds.
Or let me guess, EWs. Sorry, there's just a lot of abbreviations here, and I'm like, whoa, this is a lot.
All you gotta remember is EF, DI, and DOD.
You know what's funny? I knew that tornadoes are measured in the EF scale. I did not ever know what it stood for.
Well, and of course it breaks it down a lot more. What they're actually like measuring.
Anyway, sorry, continue.
Okay, so we're gonna quickly kind of just breeze through the 5 levels of tornadoes. So you have your EF0. This is only from about 100 to 137 kilometers an hour.
It's a little baby.
It's a little baby tornado.
It doesn't do a whole lot
you can
of
travel that fast in a car on most highways.
And it doesn't do a whole lot of damage.
It's very minor damage. Branches get broken off some trees. Shallow-rooted trees could be toppled, and some gutters and siding might be damaged.
Fly away.
This accounts for over half of all tornadoes that have ever happened.
Which, honestly, that's kind of good. That's like a very good statistic.
As the scale gets worse, you're going to be glad.
Well, yeah, as the scale gets worse, obviously the damage gets worse, but that's pretty impressive that only half of, like...
Just over
half of them are EF0s, which is pretty good considering, like, all the different types of natural disasters and their destruction levels. Like, that's pretty impressive. And I gotta say, we're pretty thankful for that.
Yeah, because it gets so much worse.
Yeah.
So we have the EF1. So now we're getting a little faster, 138 to 177 kilometers an hour. So... That's starting to get
a little faster than highway speeds. And
roofs can be stripped of large sections.
Actually,
mobile homes can be overturned or severely damaged.
I think we had an EF1 in Mooseman one year, and it did take the roof off of our subway. We had no subway roof for a long time.
No more sandwiches.
No more sandwiches. No, I remember that was one major thing that, like, the roof came off of subway once.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so basically there's also some broken windows and doors. Cars can be slightly pushed off roads, and trees can be snapped or uprooted.
You know, that just, like, kind of scares me when you think about, like, cars are heavy.
3,000 to 4,000 pounds of aluminum.
Cars are very heavy, and they're pretty hard to roll. I mean, accidents do happen, and that stuff does happen, and they do roll, but they are quite hard to roll if you have a good, steady, like, good vehicle.
Well,
so, like,
just
to
wait,
think about
just
this
wait till it
wind,
gets stronger.
To think about this wind, like this tornado wind that just, whoop,
yeah,
barely touches it and
yeah.
it moves. Like,
so these represent 31% of all tornadoes. Now we get to the
still better than more damage though.
Yeah.
So
EF2, 178 to 217. So we've now reached the 200 threshold.
That's very fast.
Roofs completely torn off of well-built homes. Mobile homes destroyed. Cars can be lifted off the ground or flipped.
Ugh.
And weak structures like barns on a farm leveled. Makes up 10% of all tornadoes.
So when we're talking about tornadoes, I'm just going to talk about the only examples that I think of real quick. The only examples that I can think of that I've seen, like, ever in movies is Twisters.
Yep.
And Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, the spaghetti tornado. That was my favorite.
That's a children's movie.
Okay, but, like, it still shows that tornadoes are damaging. That's just, this one's made of spaghetti.
Exactly.
So,
well, now we get to the point where now things get bad. Because essentially, so every tornado should be taken seriously. I should say that. You should never think of any tornado lightly.
yeah, and be like,
But
oh, this isn't good.
0 to 2, good chance. If you follow tornado precautions,
You'll be okay.
99 times out of 100, you'll be okay.
But here's where it gets worse.
EF3 is where things get bad. It just starts. EF3, 218 to 266 kilometers per hour.
That's so fast to think of. Like, that's double highway speed.
Entire stories of well-constructed homes destroyed. So they're getting blown apart. Severe damage to large buildings such as shopping centers. Train cars overturned. Cars thrown significantly distant. So now they're picking up and throwing them. And most trees in forested areas are either uprooted or snapped. 3% of all tornadoes. You can see how the percentages have rapidly gone down.
Which is good. But still, the fact that it happens 3% of the time is scary as hell.
Well, now this is where it gets even worse if you think it couldn't get worse. The EF4. 267 to 322 kilometers per hour. Think of how fast. That's triple highway speed. Triple highway speed. I was just going to say that. Well-constructed homes completely leveled or swept off their foundation.
That's kind of like...
Think of a whole house.
Just gone.
Woof.
Like, that does the same amount of damage as wildfires did. Like the wildfires in LA that just happened, a whole bunch of neighborhoods were just leveled. But
the fire burning takes time.
Yeah.
This happens in a matter of seconds.
But, like, think about that same level of damage from something like this.
Exactly.
That happens when you have an EF4.
Exactly. Cars and large vehicles are thrown over 91 meters.
Wow, can you tell
That's
we're Canadian
far.
without telling we're Canadian?
That's far. But here's a steel reinforced concrete structures damaged.
That's
Those
crazy.
get hit.
Your
And trees.
bunkers ain't gonna laugh in that one.
Oh, they can.
Well, they can, but
most of them can. Trees debarked. Think of how hard it is to tear bark off of a tree. It strips all the bark off of a tree effortlessly.
That's crazy. You're just
Zero.
installing more fear into me right now, man.
Perfect. Zero.
Perfect. Whoa.
Listen, 0.7 of all tornadoes ever happen like this. Okay,
That's good at least.
And then the big one, the worst one, the EF5.
So I love how you said there was 5 levels, and you're on the 6th one, so you lied. Sorry, guys.
I'm gonna like slap you.
Whoa. Anyway, continue.
The EF5, over 322 kilometers an hour. They don't even have a scale for this one. It's like if it pushes that boundary, you're dead. So essentially,
you're gone.
Strongly built steel reinforced concrete structures are destroyed, not damaged. They're destroyed.
So that bunker probably not gonna live.
But they can still live.
Well, I guess depending on how your bunker's built.
Yeah. Homes completely disintegrated.
They just use the scary words and just trying to scare you.
And debris from it gets scattered for miles.
Kilometers. We're Canadian.
Kilometers, miles, whatever. Oh yeah, and cars and trucks can be thrown over 1.6 kilometers. Think of just how far that is.
Yeah.
Cars.
That's like, sorry, how many?
1.6 kilometers.
That's like here to my old house. That's just outside of town.
That's significantly farther. I have scale distances. Trees are still debarked, and even some of them have their roots pulled from the ground. Some of those big trees can go pretty far in the ground, and even ground scouring occurs. Now, do you know what ground scouring is?
No.
Tornado.
Do I want to know? Probably
Tornado
not.
ground scouring is the process in which soil and dirt are removed from the ground.
Bruh.
It can be used to identify the path of a tornado if it was determined it moved in a straight line.
Bro.
And I'm going to be talking about some specific tornadoes really quickly coming up here. And some of the ground scouring is horrific of how much of the earth it takes up with it. Look at her face. Look at her face. Like, just, like...
Like, what? It just takes Mother Nature with it.
Exactly.
It's like, you wanted dirt? Ha, you thought.
Okay.
You thought you could.
So now we're going to get into some fun facts. Now.
Oh, no.
And
They're
now
not going to be fun.
I have distances to help give you and you, the viewer, a scale
Colin,
of how far.
We need to talk about what fun fact means because I guarantee these aren't going to be fun facts.
Oh, these are fun for me. Okay, so here's the first fact. The most tornadoes in the world occur in the United States. On average, 1,200 tornadoes happen in a year in the U.S. alone.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the states that were really, really big. It's like Oklahoma.
Well, there's Tornado Alley and Dixie Alley. Tornado Alley is typically considered Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas.
Like there's quite
Nebraska,
a few states that are more.
St. Louis, like all those. And then there's Dixie Alley, which is near, that's like your Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Tennessee.
It sounds like all of the really country.
Well, the more rural parts of America.
That's true, yeah.
So, the most confirmed tornadoes to happen in a single year was in 2004. 1,817 tornadoes.
So glad I wasn't born that year.
I was alive.
Not.
I was only one, though. So
you know, one, and they're just going to huck you into a tornado and be like, oh, bye, baby. Bye, child. Be like, sorry, we're running for our lives, and you're just slowing us down.
Don't think that's going to happen.
I'm just saying it'd be kind of fun.
But turning to the Canadian side, Canada averages a measly 62 tornadoes per year.
That's better.
Although this number is expected to be higher due to we have larger swaths of unpopulated areas, there's probably some tornadoes that could happen.
Don't know.
For example, like in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, if you think like way far up into the northern side of the provinces, there's absolutely tornadoes that could happen there. Just
that we just wouldn't
very
know
brief,
about.
weak ones. No one would have any idea.
Because not a lot of people live up there.
Exactly. The most frequent hit areas in Canada are Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario.
Actually, it's so fun. Prairies.
Prairies and Ontario.
Prairies. There is a tornado valley in Canada or in Saskatchewan. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Somewhere. It's not like
we can look at a map afterwards.
I'm pretty sure there's just a place referred to as Tornado Valley, which I'm pretty sure I lived in.
Time's ticking. I gotta keep plowing through this. No, it's okay. I just gotta keep plowing through. So the vast majority of tornadoes travel east northeast. That's the most common direction, and I want you to keep that in mind because there's some tornadoes that don't abide by that rule. The longest distance of a person being carried by a tornado.
That is what is wrong with you.
Listen. So, a man named Matt Suter of Fortland, Missouri, holds the record for the longest known distance.
It's a record?
Yeah, holds the record for the longest known distance traveled by anyone picked up by a tornado who survived the ordeal. On March 12th, 2006, he was carried, get ready, 1,307 feet, according to National Weather Service measurements. Now, I have a reference of scale here. So if you live here in the Westman area, especially if you live in Brandon, think of the WCG building. Okay, so where we're filming this in this studio, from here all the way to the Keystone Center. That's how far he got picked up and carried. That's quite a distance.
That is a distance.
Not a far distance, but a distance nonetheless.
Not a distance I would walk right now, so.
While not officially reported as the longest distance, both the National Weather Service and tornado expert Thomas Grazoulis documented that the 1976 Brownwood, Texas F5 tornado picked up and threw two teenagers 910 meters, and both survived. That's the equivalent of here in the office to Sobeys Extra at the mall. That far.
Jesus. Think
of how far that is. And they lived.
Why are you smiling?
Because this is fascinating. It's cool. Okay.
At least you're not talking about people who died, because that would be even worse.
Well, not yet.
Oh my God.
Well, we'll see. I wrote down a lot of notes. I can barely even remember half of them. So, thankfully, we're talking about some very extreme, very bad tornadoes. We've been in a EF5 drought. We have not had an EF5 tornado in over 11 years.
Thank God.
The last EF5 tornado was on May 20th, 2013.
Oh, 4 days before my birthday.
This is the longest EF5 drought ever since they officially began recording tornadoes in 1950. So we're in a pretty unprecedented route.
This is good.
Drought.
We like it. We like it.
So actually, that's a little bit of tornado history, actually. The earliest known tornado. So the earliest recorded, put that very clearly, recorded tornado in Europe was in Freezing? It was in Germany in 788 AD. A long time ago. The earliest known Irish tornado appeared on April 30th, 1054 in Ristella. The earliest known British tornado hit central London on October 23rd, 1091, and was especially destructive. You can fill in the blank.
Jeez.
Now, the farthest object that got carried, this blew my flippin' mind, okay? The furthest record for the furthest object carried by a tornado was a personal check, like a check that you'd pay with. It was a check. It was carried, get ready for this, 358 kilometers.
That's
the equivalent. I'm sorry. It got carried from its origin place in Stockton, Kansas, to Winnetoon, Nebraska, and for a distance from where we are, from the WCG office to the Manitoba Ontario border, just 13 kilometers east of the border.
You know what? That's crazy. I
think about paper went that far in the air and landed there.
It's paper because it's
exactly.
It makes sense because paper is so light, and that's just kind of funny. Someone's check, they're not getting paid.
Exactly.
It's all the way in Nebraska now.
I'm now going to scare you again.
Aw.
The heaviest object ever thrown, because I really want you to think about how strong these tornadoes are, okay? During the May 24th, 2011 El Reno Piedmont tornado in Oklahoma, the tornado struck the Cactus 117 oil drilling rig site at EF5 intensity.
Okay.
For background, the rig's pipe and drill head were inserted deep into the well's borehole. This provided the drilling pipe with 200,000 pounds of downforce. So this thing is anchored into the ground pretty firmly, okay? Despite this. And despite the fact that the drilling rig weighed 1.9 million pounds, the rig was toppled onto its side and rolled several times. An article has claimed that the oil rig was tossed upwards of 90 feet.
Oh, my Lord.
Think about that. Nearly 2 million pounds just woof.
It's gone.
Think about that. Because of wind. 200,000 pounds of downforce, too.
I'm never going to Oklahoma or any of those states.
Well, after I talk about some of these tornadoes here, you're going to probably want to regret even coming to Manitoba.
I think maybe. How many do you got?
I've got a couple here.
I was going to say maybe do like one or two, and then I don't know if you have any other notes after that, because we got.
Well, this is the last part of my notes.
Okay.
So we'll end with this one. So we're going to talk about the deadliest tornado on record.
Oh, of course.
But surprisingly enough, this happened a long time ago, and there's actually some weird controversy kind of surrounded kind of surrounding it. So we're going to talk about the 1925 tri-state tornado.
25.
Tri means three. The three-state tornado, if you want to think about that.
Thank you for explaining math to me. You know, because a triangle has 3 sides.
Okay, but I wanted to illustrate a point. The tri-state, 3-state.
Yes, 3 states.
It went across 3 states.
What states, though? Because some states are smaller than others, and if it's...
Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana.
Okay. So
those are pretty big.
Good size states.
Pretty good size. So in the midday and afternoon hours of March 18th, 1925, the deadliest tornado in United States history...
Hold on. This year is 100 years since that tornado.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I'm just thinking, you said 1925, it's 2025. This will be 100 years.
Yeah, in a month.
This tornado was 100 years ago. Sorry. That's
okay.
something that just popped into my head.
Well, it's crazy. It's the second deadliest worldwide, and it moved through eastern Missouri, southern Illinois, and dissipated in southern Indiana, killing 695 people.
For some reason, I thought that number was going to be a lot higher.
Well, that's already high enough.
I know, but like the way you said it was like the deadliest in the States, I was like, oh. So I was expecting like at least 1 million or something like that. So like when you think about it,
1 million.
Well, I don't know.
That's That's like double the amount of people that were killed in the Second World War from the United States.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
That's a lot.
You hyped it up to be like a lot.
Okay, but but think of a funnel of wind.
True.
Killing that many people.
It's
not a bomb.
True. I'm not saying it's a bad. I'm not saying it's a good thing that there was that many people, but like, I'm just saying like I expected more. I don't know why, but that's just me.
That's okay. So the tornado touched down as part of a large severe weather outbreak that hit the United States on the same day, and it produced catastrophic damage across numerous villages and towns across all 3 states. Despite not being officially rated, as it of course happened quite a while ago, it is widely accepted to have been the equivalent of an F5, naturally. Yeah. But here's some crazy stats about it. It lasted 3 hours and 45 minutes. Most don't last longer than an hour. And when I say most don't last longer than an hour, the most violent, intense ones don't even like make it 45 minutes.
I was going to say they're like a quick burst of time and then it's like, oh. Exactly. Then your damage is there and you're like, oh.
And it had estimated wind speeds of 480 kilometers an hour. Think about that. But here's the thing, though. It had a path length of 352 kilometers. And here's a frame of reference, maybe something that you might be familiar with. 352 kilometers is from where this studio is to just west of Regina.
Also, when you said 480 kilometers, that is if you go 120 on the highway, times that by 4. Yeah. Exactly by 4.
Crazy, yeah.
So imagine going 120 on the highway, and that's pushing like the speed limit.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though. And also, it caused the equivalent of $2.9 billion in damages in today's money.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing, though. There has been a long uncertainty as to whether the original recorded reports of a 352-kilometer path over 3.5 hours represented a single continuous tornado or multiple independently tracking tornadoes belonging to a tornado family.
And that's not something you can determine nowadays. Like, well, you could now.
Nowadays you can. Back then.
You couldn't have. And now you can't, like, look back at it and be like, oh, that's what that was. You can't really determine that. It's something that happened and then you just got to accept it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because of the scarcity of verifiable meteorological data from the time of the event and the apparent absence of any record of a tornado having approached this path length in the duration in the years since, because no tornado has ever come close to this.
That's a good thing.
Doubts have raised about the plausibility of the conclusion that that a single tornado was responsible for them. To date, no definitive conclusion has been reached, and a complete understanding of what occurred remains unachieved, which almost makes it even more frightening that we don't even truly know.
And the sad part is 100 years ago now. A lot of the people from that time...
Everyone's dead.
Dead.
Almost everyone's dead.
I'd be surprised if there's, like, a lot of people still alive from that era,
So here's the thing. In 2001, tornado expert Tom Grzoulis, he wrote that the first 97 kilometers of that track was probably the result of 2 or more tornadoes. And that the remaining 253 segment overall path length was seemingly continuous. So maybe a couple smaller ones and then one massive one.
Yeah.
But exhaustive research published in 2013 found no definitive resolution, but did locate additional tornado sightings and damage 24 kilometers west of the previously known beginning path of the tornado.
Oh.
So altogether, this brought the known... Sorry, there's a bit of a hole in my notes, but essentially, they don't know. It could have been multiple, it could have been one.
It's something they'll never be able to figure out either.
Yeah. Okay. Last thing I'm going to talk about here is the one that that's going to make you want to ever regret. Because you said you were terrified about that F5 that happened in Oklahoma. I'm going to be talking about the 2007 Ely, Manitoba F5 tornado.
No.
The only F5 to ever happen in Canada, and will be the only F5 because we don't even use the F scale anymore.
Good. I don't want any more tornadoes.
Well, no, the EF can still happen.
I don't care. I don't care.
Okay, well, there's no just singular Fs.
Care.
There's just EFs now. But, oh yeah, and Ely, Manitoba is just west of Winnipeg. That's close to where I live.
Is this your way of trying to get me out of Manitoba?
Sure. Let's pretend. No.
All right, quickly.
So, the 2007 Ely tornado was a small but extremely powerful and erratic tornado that occurred during the evening of June 22nd, 2007. Again, I lived in Winnipeg at the time, even on the west end of Winnipeg too. I was 4 years old, and this is the closest I've ever been. Like, probably less than 50 kilometers.
Oh, yeah.
It's so cool.
Anyway.
It's so cool. The powerful F5 was known for its unusual path and how it was during its path. Its rope to cone structure was as opposed to a wedge tornado. Because when you see some of those big tornadoes, you see the wedge is like, they're extremely wide, big tornadoes. This one was like a rope, but yet it didn't look powerful at all, but it had incredible winds. And to say that, the highest winds from the tornado were measured around 420 kilometers an hour. And if you were to see a picture of it, you would think, how is that 420? But
yeah.
Anyway.
Picture inserted on the screen.
Right here.
If we can find one.
It was a very photogenic tornado. In my opinion, I think it was the perfect tornado because I will spoil it a little bit. It was very photogenic. It looked awesome. It was an F5, which is, cool. Oh, F5.
Yeah. Except for taking pictures of it.
Nobody was injured or killed.
That's good.
But
that's good.
While several houses were leveled, no one was injured or killed by the tornado. A home in the town was swept clean off of its foundation, justifying the F5 classification. The tornado initially touched down just north of the Trans-Canada Highway around 6:30. The tornado made several sharp turns to the east and south over a nearly 2-kilometer path. Remember how I said they go east-northeast? This one was going southeast. It said, I'm contrarian, and I'm going in a different direction.
It said, frig you, I don't want to be like the rest.
Exactly. He wanted to be different. The tornado then made another turn south and made an extremely slow loop-de-loop over the town's flour mill, which caused over $1 million of damages, by the way. Exactly. Multiple semi-trucks were overturned and damaged, and building walls were buckled inward. Literally. So they're still standing, but
They're like,
yeah, exactly. It sounds funny.
It's like they were trying to get into a really tight pair of jeans and they just couldn't fit very well, so they just squished themselves in.
I don't know if that's
Continue.
Anyway, at this point, the tornado was producing F1 to F2 level damage, so weak. After reaching the intersection of Jansen Road and Road 61 North, the tornado turned east directly towards the southwest edge of Ely, and it quickly intensified to F4 strength. So it just went from 0 to 100. And it made another loop over Ely Street. Here, it damaged a dozen homes and destroyed 4 houses, including one that was described as a well-built and bolted to its foundation. And that just got destroyed. And it got completely lifted off of its foundation, Wizard of Oz style. And there's video of it. I'm going to put the video right here.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
Exactly. I'm going to put it right here and make sure that you see that because it was nuts. The tornado was even strong enough to rip some. It snapped bolts off of some of these houses too, which is only the most powerful ones can do. The other 2 houses sustained F4 level damage, with both of them being almost completely lifted off of their foundations too. More Kansas. The tornado also
Kansas
flipped
anymore.
and threw multiple cars, including a car that was tossed over 100 meters.
Jeez.
Yeah. The tornado lingered over this area of Ely for approximately 4 minutes before it exited Ely to the southwest and rapidly dissipated.
It said, peace out, Eli. I'm out.
Peace out, Eli. And so it was originally rated an F4, but until that video came out that someone shot at a distance showing the roof getting lifted off and shredded in midair, that bumped it up to an F5.
Oh.
So thank God for that video existing, or else this would have just been a boring old F4.
Boring old F4. Anyway.
And that is, I hope I have instilled fear into you and you.
It's a good thing we don't live in the U.S. Anywho.
I love tornadoes. I could do this for 3 more hours, but we're out of time. You look so terrified now.
Why did I agree to this episode? I'm genuinely just like rethinking my life decisions right now. I need to go home and evaluate how I make decisions.
While you think about your life decisions, you can follow us on Instagram at KC_Chronicles 2024.
And we have the same exact username for our TikTok.
Yeah, so go follow us on TikTok, on Instagram. And if you or someone you know is interested in doing a podcast with us or by yourself or with a group of friends here in-house at WCG, you can email us at WCGTV@westmancom.com.
And we will get back to you as fast as we can. And if you don't want to email us and instead you want to DM us on TikTok or Instagram, our DMs are open.
Absolutely.
And we would love to hear from you. And we hope that you guys are enjoying the clips that we're posting, because we posted one yesterday. We're going back to our old episodes and just getting little funny clips, and we really hope you guys enjoy them, because we enjoy them.
They make us laugh.
Like, we posted the one yesterday to TikTok, and it has like almost 2,000 views now. Like, and that's in a day. Like, so we were like, were shocked.
The viewership counter just went up. Like, we went from like a couple hundred, and then all of a sudden like 2,000.
It went out the window. So we appreciate everybody who was viewing it, whether you're in Brandon or anywhere else in the world. We really appreciate whoever's viewing our content. It makes us so happy to be able to post for you guys, and we thoroughly enjoy doing it. And that's all for us today. So I think, unless you have something else to add.
I love tornadoes,
yeah,
and you should
apparently.
too.
Anyway.
I encourage you to research and watch documentaries. At a certain point, you'll numb yourself to the fear of it, and then you'll grow the same fascination. You like watching.
I watch horror movies. So.
I was saying, you watch horror movies. You've seen the Twister movies in theaters. You can't be scared of them.
That's true. Anyway, we hope you have an amazing day.
I so hope a tornado happens near Brandon this year, because we're going storm chasing.
KC Chronicles go storm chasing.
Even if it's not even like on company books, we'll just go out. I'll just pick you up and we'll just go and you can film on your phone.
We thank you guys so much for joining us today and every other time you join us. And we can't wait for all the stuff that's coming this year. We're so excited. We keep talking. We keep getting more ideas. So this is going to be a big year for us.
We just want to just wait for the winter to go away.
It's going to be a huge year, and we hope you stick with us. And we hope you have an amazing rest of your day, your week, whatever you're having. And for now, that is bye from me and Cullen.